and career. The girl who would later assume the pen name of Ayn Rand was born in Tsarist Russia on February 2, 1905, as Elissa Rosenbaum. Her father owned a pharmacy shop, and her mother was a homemaker and socialite. Young Elissa was an intense and bright child who taught herself to read at the age of 6. Soon after, she was learning French and devouring detective stories in the children's magazines her mother bought for her. One day, in the pages of a French boys' magazine, the 8-year-old Elissa found and fell in love with her first hero.
1914 was a big turning point in my life anyway. My mother subscribed for me to a boys' magazine because it would be adventure stories. Now, I remember one illustration that impressed me was a picture of that Englishman you see standing at the wall with a sword or something waiting for someone. But this hero, and his name was Cyrus, was a perfect drawing of my present hero. Tall, long-legged, with kind of, trousers and leggings, the way soldiers wear, but no jacket, just an open-collared shirt torn in front, kind of open very low, sleeves rolled at the elbows, and hair falling down over one eye. Elements of my, at least the appearance of what is my bromide about my type of man, were completely taken from that illustration. The first time that presented in the story is that they're all in a cage, and the cage is being wheeled through this valley to some kind of temple ceremony, and they're all scared except the hero. And I remember the image, the first illustration. He's standing holding on to the bars of the cage where everybody else is on the bottom, sitting down or cringing. Thereafter, up to the age of 12, that's the next 3 years, that was my exclusive love. It was almost mystical in this sense, that I felt I'm totally out of the concerns or the reality of anybody. What they're interested in doesn't matter at all to me, because I know something much higher.
During a family trip to England, walking down a London street, Elissa spied a colorful poster showing gaily dressed showgirls in a musical revue. Back in her hotel room, she made up stories about those dancers and told them to her younger sisters, who listened raptly. Suddenly a thought struck her. This is what writers do, all the time. And she knew her course was set for life. She wanted to create stories about people and events she could admire and look up to. In later life, she wrote that the best of mankind's youth start out with this kind of attitude toward their lives, describing it as, for most, a sense of enormous expectation, the sense that one's life is important, that great achievements are within one's capacity, and that great things lie ahead. With her choice to become a writer now made, fiction writing occupied more and more of Elissa's time and energy. At school, she wrote short novels during classes she thought boring. These early efforts lacked plot, but featured interesting individuals doing unusual things. They were precursors of the fictional heroes she would create in later life. Soon, Elissa discovered the novels of Victor Hugo, and her world widened to encompass the vast dramatic tapestries he wove in such masterpieces as Les Miserables and 93. Along with such romantic geniuses as Edmond Rostand, author of Cyrano de Bergerac, Hugo extended a spiritual lifeline to the teenaged Elissa, expanding her vision of how much was possible to a novelist. Alyssa's artistic awareness continued to expand. She was captivated by French and Viennese operettas, and she fell in love with cinema, still in its silent infancy. All of these art forms spoke to her of the possibility that she could make a life's work out of putting down in writing her blinding picture of people as they could be. But as she grew to adulthood, Alyssa became increasingly aware that she had been born into a country whose culture and political system held in contempt the ideals of individualism she cherished.